We will call the meeting, the August 4th meeting of the Curriculum Instruction Committee to order. First up, Dr. Cuppett, are there any public comment?
No, ma'am, no public comment.
All right, moving on. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Mr. J, Ms. Johnson? Okay, hearing nothing, we will also move on. Anybody have any comments at this time? Very good. I see Mr. Johnson has typed in no. So we will move into the presentation. Take it away, Dr. Cuppett.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to have Eric Haynes, our project manager for personalized learning, and Amy Cordes, who's our achievement specialist for personalized learning, come and give the committee an update on two aspects of the work that we've been doing for quite a while now, but has become even more critical as we have transited the pandemic and looking to innovate in our programs from here on out. One part will be around our personalized learning initiative, which again began about 7 years ago in a very small format and has grown quickly across the district. And the use of our Schoology tool, which many of you as board members have relayed that families were very appreciative of having everything in a one-stop shop using Schoology. So they're going to give you an update on where we are with both of those projects, as well as highlight some of the great work that actually occurred during the trying time that was the COVID-19 pandemic. So Mr. Haynes is going to share the slides, and I will turn it over to the two of them at this time. Thank you, Eric and Amy, for being here.
Yes, thank you. And just give me a second to share my screen here. All right. Dr. Cuppett, if you could just say something that you can see in the slides.
You're up and running.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share with you this morning. It's great to be here. And I want to start by talking to you about our Vanguard teacher program. And the Vanguard program is our leadership development program for teachers in blended learning. We have 246 Vanguards now across our 5 cohorts. We cover every curricular area, every grade level. We are covering 56 schools now, as well as 5 different departments in central office. And you can see there we have 155 active members because it's a 3-year program where we teach, lead, coach. And so we have 155 teachers in the 3 years of that program actively, and 91 graduates at this point. So that's pretty exciting. As I mentioned, it is a leadership development program. And so we're always encouraging teachers to continue to develop their skills and continue to be more and more of a leader outside of their classroom. And in that, as part of that development, we've had 96 teachers that have felt so confident in their leadership skills and want to apply it elsewhere that they've moved to different schools. And so we want to celebrate that. We have 56 teachers that have been either promoted to an administrative role or to move to a specialist role, whether that be a teacher specialist at central office or a specialist role in their school, such as a literacy specialist or math specialist. We've had 54 teachers that were their school's Teacher of the Year nominee, and we've had several semifinalists and finalists, including our current Teacher of the Year, Miss Jenny Ryan. And we've had 6 teachers that have been accepted into the Elite Academy. In Vanguard, we've also had to respond to the pandemic, just like every other department and team across FCPS and across the country. But that launch event that we've had with our partnership with Hood College, which Miss Yoho was able to attend just before the pandemic in March of 2020, we had to move that virtual last year. And we've moved our Vanguard Summer Academies the last 2 summers to a virtual format. We've had to adapt our forum structure to work with our teachers and continue to work with our partners. Hood College has been an incredible partner for us over the years, but also our partners throughout downtown Frederick, One of the highlights every year of our Vanguard Summer Academy is being able to visit different businesses and talk with these owners and operators about how they personalize for their customers and how that relates to personalized learning for our students. And so this year, we're very proud and excited that we were able to still have that component virtually and bring these business partners of ours to the teachers through virtual and video, and you can see some of the pictures there on the screen of that. We are extremely excited, though, to be moving back to in-person, face-to-face activities this year. Blended learning is the best of online learning and face-to-face learning combined, and so the opportunity to do that continued this year, and to be able to model those strategies for teachers is really important, and it's been very exciting for us to plan those events and have that opportunity this year.
Yeah, Eric, can I just add, so for our board members and committee members here and the general public, this slide, shows 5 bullets, and I think what's often misunderstood or maybe not understood fully is the amount of work that it took to move these face-to-face events over to a virtual. And I wanted to thank Eric and Amy. They also benefit from working with a group of Vanguards who serve as leaders for these, like for instance, the Summer Academy. Vanguards from one cohort will come back and support and create activities and facilitate learning for the next year's Vanguards. And so that leadership occurs both external to the program and internally. And I wanted to thank those Vanguards. They know who they are for helping us shift to the virtual. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cuppett. And that kind of segues nicely into this slide, which is how our Vanguards have been leading throughout the pandemic as well. Immediately in the spring of 2020, as we moved into continuity of learning, and we knew that we would have teachers that had questions throughout the system, how could we quickly support them? Well, we had Vanguard teachers willing to step up into those roles. 62 of them, in fact, along with 7 of our Schoology ambassadors that started holding office hours. And we started collecting that data about who was attending. And we served over 1,700 teachers during that time, just in that spring, in a couple of months, to get their questions answered, whether it was a quick 1-minute question or sometimes an hour of walking through teachers how to set something up in Schoology or how to make something work in a virtual environment. We also quickly developed and taught MSDE courses. The course Designing and Implementing High Quality Online Learning has been taught several times with multiple sections. And we've had over 500 teachers enroll in our Virtual Learning and Beyond course that was completely developed by Vanguards and facilitated in an asynchronous format, which was something new for our system that worked really well. We also had 15 of our graduates that were able to then serve this past school year as virtual learning mentors, where they supported on a weekly basis every school across our school system with virtual learning. And so where do we go from here? Well, we're going to continue our approach in Vanguard, which is to continue to invest in teacher leadership. As I mentioned before, it's a teach, lead, coach format. And so really that first year where you're learning all about blended learning and implementing these innovative strategies, and they really become a use case for our system. So when you ask to see what it would look like in, say, 6th grade science, well, we have teachers that are doing it in that content area that are trying new things. It doesn't mean that they're a full-on expert in blended learning, but they're trying innovative strategies and they're figuring out what works and what doesn't for students in different circumstances and situations. And so it's nice to be able to point to those classrooms and talk to those teachers exactly about, what's working for them. We're going to continue to support instructional leadership. In that second year, as I mentioned, we really encourage teachers to not only do a great job inside their classroom, but to influence the teachers around them, to get outside of their 4 walls and continue to promote what's working in their classrooms and to share those great strategies across our system. And the third year is where we focus on coaching. And so in our third year, when they become coaches, we assign them to a teacher that's in the first year of the program. And so they have someone that they're mentoring and coaching through the year, as well as the people in their school and their colleagues around the school system that they're continuing to coach. And so we've built up these coaches that are now embedded in all of our schools and in all of our content areas. And it's been really exciting to see how our administrators, our central office leaders, curriculum specialists are really using these coaches to accelerate innovation throughout our school system. And I'd also like to point out that, one of the benefits of having graduates now is that we have this great network of alumni, and they've really enjoyed being part of Vanguard. And so to continue to get them together, to keep them connected, and continuing to invest in our other Vanguards that are going through the program, we've set up different alumni activities where they're continuing to connect with one another. And so we're also excited to continue to look at ways how we can continue to develop and tap into that alumni group, because we have this really strong, rich group of leaders in our system, and how do we continue to move them forward and utilize their talents to help lead our system. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Miss Amy Cordes to talk to you a little bit about Schoology.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk a little bit about Schoology, where we've been, where we were during the pandemic, and where we're going. So just to give everybody an overview, Schoology is our selected learning management system for FCPS. We went into RFP in 2017, so this will be our fourth full year of use with the Schoology learning management system. It is a part of our digital transformation. It is a cornerstone of our digital ecosystem, and we really do believe it serves as a solution to support a variety of district challenges and needs, including enhanced communication channels, personalized instruction for students, and a secure digital environment. Next slide. So our approach with Schoology is something that we've always stuck with from the very beginning. We really believe about innovative solutions and streamlining our managerial tasks so we can maximize our instructional time and design with students. With that being said, our innovative solutions come from templating courses, blueprint resources for our teachers that are ready to go, and just really making sure that everything's working with each other to form a one-stop shop for all of our stakeholders who are using the system. With 73,000 active users last year, it's really important to have secure and very robust on-demand training and support. So we have Schoology ambassadors at every school. We have 24/7 live chat and phone support, which is a premium support package from Schoology. And we also have our own FCPS Schoology help desk, which we use to make sure that as we see any challenges in our school system infrastructure, we can get to those immediately. As I said, Schoology ambassadors were a very important part of our response to the pandemic. So this year in SY22, we have 92 ambassadors ready to go. And we're very excited that those people have been selected by their administration to really support their schools and their stakeholder groups, whether it be with Schoology, Google Meet, Kami. There are several integrations we use, all going back to this idea of a one-stop shop that our students are seeing and using every day. Next slide. So responding to the pandemic, one of the things we knew as we were responding to the pandemic that we needed everybody in one place with course management and day-to-day communication. So we did move our elementary folks and all of our teachers into Schoology. With that said, we did onboard our elementary schools and their Schoology ambassadors. That was a robust support effort that we really believe lifted up a lot of the work you saw in our elementary virtual classrooms. Many of us saw consistent dashboards whiteboards where we would see icons being used with every teacher in a school. And a lot of that was really the effort of our Schoology ambassadors working with administration to really streamline the overarching views and experiences of our students at the elementary level. We also had on-demand and live professional learning opportunities. With that shared, we actually offered quite a few, over 25 sessions, and we had over 1,000 people attend those sessions during the SY21 summer. We also had a lot of interdepartmental collaborations to minimize those disruptions to learning. If you think of all the changes and evolutions of the schedule and think about all of the behind the scenes that had to happen to really make our students feel like when they showed up to school virtually that day or in school, they felt like they were in the right place and had the right resources. That was a collaboration between AAE, SASE, CII. We wanted to make sure all of those things were ready to go, and even our communication teams helped with that effort. Streamlining student and staff user experiences. Once again, every time we went into a pivot or an adjustment, we revisited how we were doing business and made sure we were putting our best foot forward with the system we had in place and all of the different functionalities and features. You may have seen a lot of our schools using school updates in Schoology, which was a new enhancement to the Schoology practices. A lot of our schools found success with communicating to their parent and student user group through Schoology. Speaking of parents, parent connectivity was a huge endeavor this year during a pandemic situation, and we felt like it was also an opportunity. So in collaboration with our SASE department, we were able to deploy emails to our parents of students that didn't have any connectivity with Schoology, which simply means that our student, we could see that they didn't have a parent connection. So we could send an email to that parent specifically and make sure that they had everything they needed, including online training opportunities and videos to connect and get set up for success. We found that very effective. We did that several times during the pandemic, and we also had a lot of our schools be able to reach out to those parents and those Schoology ambassadors, helping them onboard into the system. Finally, we have our Blueprint curriculum resources, which connects us back to personalizing instruction for students. One of the things that we've learned throughout the pandemic and even prior to the pandemic was our teachers are looking for student-facing resources that are ready to go and that they can tweak to personalize instruction for the students in front of them. During the pandemic, it was a great opportunity for us to lift up those student-facing resources that our curriculum department and our teacher leaders create during our summers and throughout the school year. And our teachers, with a few clicks, could deploy all of those resources into their courses and be able to spend the time with lesson planning and tweaking to personalize instruction. Next slide. So the numbers. We just want to kind of lift up the numbers of Schoology right now and where we stand. So if you can see here, we have our percentages in relation to our elementary, middle, and high school students. So right now, a student where at least one parent has an account, we have 75% of our population having at least one parent connection in Schoology. And then I think some of the most important numbers you'll see is the number of students where parent activity has occurred. So if you look at those numbers, you can see not only did they join, a lot of the parents that joined stayed connected and stayed active, which is really, once again, an opportunity for us to connect with our community and our stakeholder groups and provide that up-to-date current information for them in a variety of communication channels.
And Amy, if I could just add, one of the things that we know occurred in the pandemic is that even though a parent may not have been connected, meaning they did not download Schoology on an app, they were certainly there over the shoulder of their kids. So they were seeing Schoology in action, but in that over the shoulder kind of point of view of working with their students. So we want to increase these connectivity numbers to as high as we possibly can get them, and we'll continue to work on that. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that many families were actually sitting, to some respect, in class during the pandemic because they were over doing something nearby a lot of times when the student was in their classes.
Especially at our elementary level, we found a lot of the over-shoulder support as well. So moving along to our next slide. We also want to lift up the idea of where we were when we first started with Schoology and where we are now. So if you look at our overall numbers, we started with 7,300 parent accounts, and now we're at over 26,000 parent accounts. And if you look at our levels, you can see there's a constant increase. Once again, like Dr. Cuppett said, we are making sure that we are providing access to all of our new enrollments this year. You may have seen the Find Out First that just came out to let everybody know that we're going to make sure you have everything you need to be connected and successful in Schoology. And we also, once again, will follow up with those who do not connect to offer them opportunities to have a one-on-one session to be able to onboard into the platform. Next slide. So Schoology and the 2021-2022 school year. So first things first, we want to simplify and streamline. With last year, we had to do a lot of pivoting. People had to add a lot of resources, and we always review everything we've done and made sure that we clean up and adjust to make sure we're ready to go for the school year. And we learn from those pearls of the pandemic. We also want to lift up the blueprint resource enhancements. Our curriculum specialists and our teacher leaders have been working over the summer to provide new updated resources, and we're very excited that those will be available in a short few days to our teachers. We also believe that exploring and updating integrations and enhancements is of extreme importance. To continue to have a one-stop shop for our students and our teachers, we constantly review our textbooks, the current approved applications, and see how they can work with Schoology and for teachers and students. So that's a constant review that we process throughout the year. And I think next slide.
So thank you, Amy and Eric. And for the board members here, I wanted to highlight again, this is a conversation we've been having in the C&I committee and the various iterations based on the board members who are part of that. When we began our work 7 or 8 years ago, we were really looking at what are those innovative solutions that we could put together for students, like onboarding an LMS or bringing in better digital tools like Lexia, which we've shared with you. We're adding iReady and Alex. That's part of that whole digital ecosystem, all of those interconnected tools that require a lot of behind the scenes work. And those innovative solutions are done in tandem with any of the innovative learning practices that we put in place. So not only do we need these tools, but we need to build teacher capacity to understand how to use those tools, how to use data that's embedded within the tools, what are the best tools to use for the best learning purposes. And so we've always paralleled this work between innovative solutions and innovative learning. And that'll continue to be a focus as our solutions become more robust and our personalization for students continues to spread through the district. So at this time, we're available for questions.
Ms. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. One is thank you everyone for all your hard work and continued vast improvement in resources and innovation for our students in learning. So it's something personally very important to me and all the community. So I congratulate you on all the hard work. And I know it's not been an easy lift. So thank you very much for that. I would kind of from a philosophical point of view. So while you were presenting, I just went into the Schoology account for my son. And so I see there's no enrollments in there. And I guess one thing I'm wondering is how could the parents of students be able to look up any kind of archival information? Maybe even just grades. Like, is that a separate system, or is there any discussion on how to integrate that so that you could go in and say, for example, look at, last year's report card? So, so I understand about the work being done and developing things for a specific course, but what about for helping manage like the lifetime of the student?
So that's a great question. And when we talk about Schoology, Schoology and the grades that are in Schoology are not the grades of record. There is an ability to archive courses. So every year as a term ends, we do archive by semester. Those archives are available to our teachers. And typically you will find, if you go into your Schoology account as a parent, usually what you will see is under enrollments, you see current courses, then you see past courses. And if you have a student that's at the middle school or high school level, typically what you will see there is the course that they took, and you will see the course average that they ended on that for that term or that semester.
Okay, I don't see that. I just, if I'm in courses, it just says you're not enrolled in any courses. Me as a parent. So
Right.
Your son is elementary.
yeah.
Would that be the difference?
So correct. So at the elementary level, the past courses would be visible. However, at the elementary level, we currently don't show course averages in Schoology for our elementary students. So that's why you wouldn't see a course average there at this time.
Well, I don't see anything.
So if you were to go to the top right-hand side of your screen and you would to go down to your student's name, underneath your name, it'll switch to your student view, and that's where you'll find those courses in past. And we can certainly help you in
I don't see that. So I don't see his name underneath mine. So maybe
we can help you with that.
Yeah, well that's fine. I just again just wondering how that integration and archiving is going to be handled. I go again, the nice thing is that this is kind of like a beyond like what's happening now, but it's kind of like for the future. You know, maybe if we're looking at students meeting with an intervention, you know, specialist to look at like past work in math or reading or writing. I just think having that legacy of data is good, but I didn't know what our requirements were for archiving. Do we have any legal mandate to keep previous student work for a certain period of time? And then, you know, is there any data capacity, storage issues? You know, like what's the position on all of that?
Right.
Well,
And I will,
Ms. Johnson, I do want to just remind you that the student information system is the official holder of all of the data that we need to send to MSDE or do reporting on. And so Schoology is connected to that student information system. I think what I'm hearing you say is, how can more of that be visible through Schoology for parents? And we're constantly exploring with Schoology, and our student information system is now owned by the same company, PowerSchool, as to what features that, you know, parents or students would find helpful. And so when we share information about the features that we're interested in, we'll share some of those exact same things. And as they continue to develop the products, now that they're both under the same company, they are looking at how to make those types of features more available that maybe traditionally haven't been available in the past. Amy, did you want to add anything to that?
That's what I was going to say. So you're good.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Sue?
No, thanks. It's all very interesting. I appreciate everyone's hard work.
Yeah, it's nice. I had my granddaughter here at one point, previous school year, and so I got to see a little bit more of it from that side, which I've now lost that ability because she moved to another county. Mr. J, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you both for presenting. First question is for Eric. In the Vanguard program, which looks very, I'll say, detailed and thorough in building like really high quality leaders. I also say it's another key reason why we have to keep our employees here in FCPS, because you know we're training up such great leaders and we got to keep them. I wanted to ask, with the Vanguard program, is it becoming like the de facto way to advance? As you mentioned before, there's a lot of time in the program. A teacher who say maybe need to get their education higher and maybe get a degree, had to put in hours for internships or do classes, and they wanted to advance, but they had to get their degree. And maybe they couldn't do Vanguard like, and they want to advance, is there still like, is it becoming like, well, you didn't do Vanguard, so you can't move higher? Is that kind of, is it still, there's still room for growth in other ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for growth in our system and leadership development. I did mention the Elite Academy as a program that our organizational development department runs, and that program is really designed around aspiring principals. There's a new Elite Bridge to Aspire program where we're working with aspiring principals. And so there's lots of opportunities. Within Vanguard in particular, it's really about developing them as teacher leaders. And so it's designed to develop them as leaders where they don't have to leave the classroom. Mm-hmm. And so naturally, as they become more leaders, and in many cases, we have teachers that, as you may guess, are already leaders in their building. But with that nudge and the encouragement and the networking that we create within Vanguard, mm-hmm. is where they really feel empowered to step out of their classroom and maybe apply for an administrative position or some type of teacher specialist or a different leadership role, or sometimes even just going to a different school where they feel like, hey, I could apply some more of these leadership skills to a new setting and a new environment and take on a new challenge. And so I don't know that I would say it's become it's the only path to leadership. It's something that we continue to invest in for teacher leadership, which I think has sort of natural consequences for those, teacher leaders becoming into leadership roles throughout the system.
Yeah, Mr. J, I'll just add too that, not only do we run this program centrally, as Eric mentioned, there's the Elite program, but in every single one of our schools, principals are working to groom leaders through whether it's committee roles or department chair positions. That's a very robust part of what we do. And if you were to look, say, for instance, at all of the teacher specialists, as just one example, who we've hired in the last 2 years, some of those had Vanguard experience and others had very different types of experiences that prepared them for those roles. So it's definitely not a single pathway, but we think it's an important part of what we do.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for the work you're doing with the program. I think it's excellent. This reminds me, let's go back to my earlier years at CPS. When talking to Linda Jordan again, she told me, Jason, we teach excellent teachers and we build excellent teachers in Frederick County. We have to keep them. And so this reminds me of another great quality thing we're giving to our teachers. We got to keep them here. Thank you very much. My second question is for Amy. Is she still there? Okay. Amy, I wanted to ask about the I want to thank you for the program with Schoology going through that. And I wanted to really applaud you on the perseverance, getting the parents involved. And as Kevin mentioned before that, Dr. Cuppert rather, sorry, mentioned that parents are there over the shoulder. That's kind of like, I say that's me. My wife is more so a Schoology master in the house. I'm kind of over the shoulder guy. So I can totally see that. When you're like somebody's there, you're engaged as a parent, but you're not totally fluent in Schoology. That's going to be me. I'm going to be like asking questions like, well, go ahead and log in for me. Let me see what's going on. And I think that's really good. But I was curious. It's just a small curiosity. Do you think that's why we're seeing the 68% in the elementary school engagement and versus the middle school? I thought that would be a lot higher elementary school. I was surprised that it wasn't. I guess it goes back to what Sue was asking before, that the program isn't like, elementary school is a little different, so that's probably why it's a little different. We're not fully one-to-one with elementary. That's probably why. So it probably goes into that. But I want to just thank you for the perseverance for parent engagement in the system. That's really good.
Absolutely. And I think we'll see as our elementary schools leverage technology intentionally throughout the years, you'll see more probably active users of our elementary parent accounts. Because right now at the middle school and high school level, parents are looking for the assignments, missing assignments. They're looking for those
Right,
course
right.
averages. Whereas at the elementary level, they really do go over the shoulder and help them click and point to persevere through their different activities in Schoology. Whereas now I think, our new enrollments actually probably have a lot of experience coming in with technology. So it'll be an interesting year to see how our littlest learners grow into the platform.
Yeah.
Well, and Mr.
J,
J, I'll add too, in my experience as a school principal, I always used to kind of half jokingly say that when it came to involvement and communication, families were on a clear spectrum. I had families who consistently told us we did not communicate enough or we did not provide enough engagement opportunities, all the way down to the other end. It says, would you please stop communicating so much? And I can't come to all these engagement activities, right? So we know that parents' needs vary, much like our students do. And so we've really tried to put enough information out there. And I want to applaud the Schoology team just for developing so many forward-facing resources so parents could learn how to use the tool. And we've received a lot of positive feedback from folks about that. And again, each parent kind of engages with Schoology a little bit different. Some of that's philosophically. Some families want to go in and check and make sure everything's there. Others allow their kids to do that until there's a problem, and then they get in there and get a little more hands-on. So we'll continue to push towards that. And I think one of the things that Amy might be able to get for us is information from Schoology about maybe how similar sized districts, what is their connectivity rate? If we're actually above the national average, then I think we applaud ourselves. If we find out that we're below that, then we would want to put more strategies in place. And I'll give a shout out to one of our schools. All of our schools did a good job trying to get parents together, but to connect it. But one of our schools, Waverly Elementary, I think had over 90% of their families connected because they took a very concerted effort at different times throughout the year to onboard families and make that connection with them. So we know it can be done. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, the goal would be to refocus our colleagues in the building to try to continue to increase that connectivity, because I know that's important to us. And it's also important to you all as the board, as we can see from the strategic plan and the work that you want us to do.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. So I wrote down several comments. I also wanted to add to that Schoology is newer for a lot of the elementary parents, as you pointed out. Pandemic kind of forced a lot of elementary teachers. We were moving that way, but you were trying to move them nice and slow, and the pandemic, changed everything. So, hopefully that'll change. But I like that idea of getting data from other areas just to see, other systems. How do we fall in? And don't want to pat ourselves on the back if we're not doing a great job, but I know you all are working hard. And I just wanted to say, we've always had those helper teachers. I hopefully tried to be one of those myself sometimes. And I think the Vanguard program gives a channel and a sort of a molding, so it's a consistent program to those people that already were looking, I want to help people. They had that as part of their DNA, and you've shown the model for, those early adopters and things like that. But I really like that because it's given a channel for people that already wanted to help. And people will talk about competition, improving school systems, and those are only people that don't know school systems. This morning, some point, my little spiel is being shown to the new hires, the new teachers. And one of the things I said in there was, teachers are often isolated in their classroom or alone in their classroom, but they don't need to be isolated in their profession, that we have lots of opportunities for support and that they need to just reach out. They probably don't even have to reach out. They'll probably be there for them, but please reach out because you don't have to be. That idea of, the hour to get somebody set up. I just remember times in my life where someone took that extra time to just focus their attention, or I did that for students, as all teachers do, but you can remember specific examples where you were like, I always say, like, algebra for me was like the black tunnel. And then, oh, there's the light. And that's just a wonderful feeling where you go from that frustration to, now I can actually use this and make something of this. I think my last comment, and then I actually do have 2 questions, with the Maryland Association of Boards of Ed, as you've talked about moving back to face, and the school system will keep some things virtual, like we're doing this virtual, not because we have to, but because we have 2 other board members on here that have jobs that they have to be at. My schedule is more flexible. And of course, you all are sort of at our will, but it's more convenient for the other board members to not have to drive to the board, especially when normally Mr. J, poor thing, is sick, but would have to drive there later today to be in person, to do that work better face to face. We can do this. And so MABE is doing some of their meetings hybrid now. They've refitted the conference room there at their office because we have people in Garrett County, Eastern Shore, Garrett County, Allegheny, they can't get there in the winter to that office. And so, and Dr. Alban saw that with the PTA council meetings, way higher participation because people didn't have to get babysitting, drive somewhere, that kind of thing. So, COVID, bad, terrible, but we've learned some good things, and you all have been at the cutting edge of that with the blended learning, but still seeing those opportunities where face-to-face is the preferable way to meet because of the networking capabilities and all that. So my 2 kind of questions are, thinking of the blueprint, and I was just pointed to the PSTEP, Professional Standards for Teacher. I don't even remember the whole title. We have a meeting tomorrow. That's why I have to go get sworn in today, and how the blueprint is going to fit in with that. So I'm sure you all have thought already how this positions us really well with teacher, that career ladder, as you were explaining to Mr. J about advancement for teachers. So do you have any early thoughts on how all of this that you're already doing will fit in so nicely and well with what we think the blueprint, where it's going to take us?
Yeah, so Ms. Yoho, I think thank you for bringing that up. I think that's an exciting part of what the blueprint is bringing forward, but that will be a challenge for all school districts. I think that we are positioned well for a couple of reasons. Whatever that system ends up being, and as you know, that's going to have to be done through a very collaborative process. So I'm kind of giving you Dr. Cuppett's take on this. We know that there can be experiences that can be common. One thing that you mentioned about Vanguard is we try to create a common, but also personalized experience. So the CTE teacher in Vanguard is doing things, certain things are common in their learning experiences, but they're applied very differently than they do for a middle school world language teacher or for a kindergarten teacher. And so I think whatever scaffold system we create, I think it has to allow for that individual teacher experience to be part of that. Like, to me, that would be a guiding principle for what we did. I think the other thing is that in Vanguard, we have learned about incremental growth of teach, lead, and coach. And we see increased responsibility as our teachers, when the coach teachers are assigned and are connected with their teach mentee. That relationship is just fantastic to watch. And you know what? They both learn from the experience. It's not like it's a one-way system. And for me, Ms. Yoho, I think that's an important part of what we would do with any ladder system, is that we would have this philosophy of being able to serve in leadership roles and given additional responsibility, but actually being actually moving through the ladder grows you as a teacher. Not always you grew and you moved on the ladder. There has to be that interconnection. So I think those are philosophically some things that we might be able to bring into that. And of course, we're all looking for more direction. And I understand, at least the last update I received is that national board certification would tie to that. And knowing people who've gone through the national board certification process, it's very much a portfolio driven. You must show how, certain competencies exist in your application to the national board for certification. We use a micro-credentialing system here in the Vanguard program where they have to demonstrate and show how they've applied the learning. So that's a smaller version of what you have to do in national board certification, but we already know how to support that in the micro-credential approach. I think you taking that lesson learned and thinking about more broadly supporting for national board certification would not be difficult to us. And Human Resources has some good experience with encouraging people to get national board certification and supporting them through the networked opportunities. And those network opportunities have actually only grown over time. So we'll see what happens with the final direction, but philosophically, those are some things I think we should consider.
Thank you. And my last question then, I was thinking as you were talking about all the things that have been developed. Last year, we gave teachers extra planning time. And my understanding is the thought was that to learn so much so quickly, as well as get materials together, but part of it was the learning process that teachers needed that extra planning time so they could do their best for students. So a lot of things have been, so now we're in essence, cutting back to normal, back to contractual planning time. And so that's going to be a change for teachers. And so all of the things that have been developed, how do you see that helping teachers be more efficient, I guess, and able to get it done right in their planning time?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ms. Yoho. And if you remember from Amy's, probably the first slide, I know that she hammers this home as she should, is that Schoology and the digital tools that we have, once teachers learn them, which again, we had a lot of teachers going through learning curve last year because Schoology was kind of coming later to elementary school as part of our implementation plan. Once you learn these tools, you start to really save on some of those managerial types of tasks. And, Ms. Yoho, you and I remember there's always managerial stuff for teachers to do. It's the only way the school system functions. But I remember when we were at Twin Ridge, we were trying to get rid of double data entry, if you remember. Why do we have to put the data in two locations? And so with these innovative solutions, we reduce some of that, which has been great. We put things at the fingertips of our teachers. And if they continue to access the blueprints, they'll see that a lot of the materials and resources that they need to do high quality blended are there for them. And one of the things we learned early on, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I remember being at Middletown Middle School, and we were looking at one of our very early curriculum projects. And when I talked to those teachers, the thing that was the most challenging for them was going out and finding high quality digital resources that students could use directly. And so they were trying to curate these resources. When we learned that, we asked our team in curriculum to make as many forward-facing or student-facing curricular resources as we can so teachers don't have to do that part. Now, can a teacher say, well, I like that, but I have this one over here that I use. Can I use that instead? Sure. When they pull a blueprint into their down into their own course management part, they can publish things or unpublish or add or subtract to those courses. Now that course lives in our district resources untouched, so they make a copy. And one of the things that we heard from teachers was like, oh man, there were so many things in the blueprint that they didn't have to go out and get. So I think as teachers learn these number of innovative solutions we have available and then interpret that into innovative learning, we are going to save a lot of that time. So I think that's going to be different. And of course, what we won't have this year is the challenges of concurrent. And we all heard, whether you were a board member or a staff member or a teacher or whoever, that concurrent was probably the single greatest challenge of being in the hybrid. And I experienced that personally when I was substituting at Butterfly Ridge. And truly, it was a challenge to connect with your kids in the classroom and those out who were in the digital environment. So I think the reduction of, or the elimination of concurrent will be another big thing that I think will feel very different this year. And I know teachers are excited about having their kids back 5 days a week as well. So those are some of my thoughts there.
Okay. Eric or Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add? And
Looks like they're good to go.
And Dr. Harris didn't have any questions. I'm so surprised, Dr. Cuffett.
I guess, maybe this is an off day for him. I don't know.
I hear he's a workaholic.
Well, to give you an example, Ms. Yoho, one time last year, I think my car was in the parking lot before his. And I know when he got out of his car, he was wondering why my car was there first. I know he'd be like, wait a minute, what's up and down? I run a little bit of a later shift than Dr. Harris. So
Yes. Well, going back to that effective and efficient, I read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's when I learned that effective and efficient aren't the same. So then at Twin Ridge, Adele, Esther Neckenroad, we used to have the club, not efficient, but hopefully effective. So anyway, my mother still gets more done by 8 o'clock in the morning than I get done all day. We just live with ourselves sometimes. But anyway, thank you so much. And thank you for all you try to do for teachers, and obviously do succeed very often. And you keep trying to, you don't settle with the mousetrap you've built. You keep trying to build the better one and help the teachers all the more. So thank you for that. And
thank you.
I guess
we have one agenda item that we're going to add to the running agenda. Linda, do you want to share that?
Yes. Dr. Harris's department of the English learners would like to present at the June 8th meeting. So we added that for June 8th, if that is approved by you.
Wait, my brain was going, it's like June 8th already passed. So we're looking at the end of the calendar. Gotcha. Very good. Yes, absolutely. Sounds wonderful.
Okay.
That's all we have then.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the group? Then we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.